A few years ago, I realized that I had become an expert at staying busy. My task tracker was filled with completed items. My calendar was neatly color-coded and pretty efficient, and my inbox was mostly empty. And from the outside, it looked like everything was working just fine. But I still felt behind, not just on deadlines, but in direction. And I remember one Friday afternoon, I scrolled through my list and I noticed something that was a bit unsettling. I couldn't explain why easily half of what I had done that week actually mattered. I was productive, sort of. I was busy, but not effective. Every task had a purpose on its own, but taken together, they didn't really form progress particularly. I was managing the work, but not really moving it toward anything meaningful. So that weekend, I started asking a different question. What if I stopped managing tasks and started designing systems? So instead of tracking what I was doing, I looked at how work moved through my week. What triggered it, what slowed it down, what finished it. The goal wasn't to get more done. It was to create an environment where the right things happened almost automatically. Productivity, in a sense, is about doing things efficiently. That's all well and good, but systems are about doing the right things consistently, and I wanted to invest in systems. At its core, a system is a structure that makes success repeatable. A to-do list focuses on effort, what you'll do today, but a system focuses on design, how you'll ensure this type of work gets done well every time. So on a task, you might say, a task says send the report, whereas a system says, here's how we handle reports, when, where, and to what standard. That difference matters because most of the stress in work and life doesn't come from the tasks themselves. It comes from having to redecide the same things over and over again. Like, where does this go? Or who owns it? Or what does done mean this time? Every unanswered question costs attention. And over the course of a week, those small decisions turn into mental clutter that looks like busyness, but frankly, it feels like exhaustion. When you think in systems, though, you move the decision upstream. You stop managing each instance, and instead, you design a repeatable process for the category of work. You don't just finish today's report, you decide how reports will flow through your world from now on. Systems thinking turns recurring confusion into recurring clarity. It's not about control, it's about creating predictability so your effort produces the same quality result no matter how chaotic the day might feel. Now, every durable system needs to answer four simple questions. The first one is purpose. Why does this exist? If a system doesn't serve a meaningful purpose, it becomes maintenance work without payoff. Each major area of life, health, creative output, leadership, family, each one should connect to a reason worth sustaining. If it doesn't advance something that matters, it's not really a system, it's overhead. And number two is process. How does this always happen? A process describes the repeatable steps that remove friction. For example, a game lead might schedule a weekly production review that always follows the same flow. Identify blockers, confirm priorities, update dependencies, close decisions. The consistency creates rhythm, and the rhythm protects your focus. Now the third one is resources. What supports this? Reliable systems have reliable inputs, time, tools, and energy. A personal system might include planning the week while energy is high on Monday morning. A team system might include pre-sprint documentation or automated reports. Without resources, systems decay into good intentions. And the fourth one is feedback. How do I know it's working? Systems only stay useful if they evolve. Feedback keeps them alive. That can be a short review question like, did this process make things easier or harder this week? Or a recurring metrics check-in. Improvement comes from adjusting the design, not from adding pressure. Now these four layers, purpose, process, resources, and feedback, these form the architecture of clarity. Once you see your work through that lens, to-do lists become smaller because half the decisions have already been made. Now, how do we live this in practice? Well, on Sunday nights, I review a single document called Systems in Play. This is not a task list. This is a dashboard of the structures that run my week. Each line represents an ongoing system. I have the physical line, that's exercise, fuel, rest. I have the creative line, what I write and refine and publish. I have a leadership line, what I need to review or decide or communicate. And the family line, how and where do I connect and teach and support. Under each one, I write the triggers that make the systems run automatically. Here's an example. When I finish my first coffee, I write for 25 minutes. That's automatic, it's programmed. After the weekly sync, record next steps in shared notes. After dinner, put the phone away, it's time for family time. Now, I don't measure completion. What I measure is consistency. The question isn't, did I do it today? It's, did the system run today? And this simple change removes a lot of strain. Motivation becomes less relevant. Each structure keeps its own momentum, freeing up attention for work that actually requires creativity or judgment. When a system starts to falter, I don't blame myself for slacking. Instead, I inspect the design. Maybe the trigger is too late in my day. Maybe the step has too many dependencies. Almost every performance issue traces back to design friction, not discipline failure. Now, how do we reflect on this? Systems aren't constraints. They are support beams. A constraint actually limits your options, whereas a support beam holds up the space where real life happens. Poorly designed systems feel restrictive because they serve rules, not purpose. But well-designed systems feel freeing because they remove noise and they make space for meaning. Freedom is not the absence of structure. It's the presence of thoughtful structure. When you start designing how your work and life operate, you discover that most stress comes from ambiguity, not effort. Systems thinking restores trust in your own process. You know what to do, when to do it, and how to tell if it's working without having to rethink it every day. You don't need to manage every task. You need to design the environment that makes the right tasks self-evident. And once you do that, progress stops depending on energy or willpower, and it starts depending on design. And design, once built, carries you farther than motivation ever will.
Hi, Jason here. If this topic resonated with you, you might find the webinar I just recorded interesting as well. It's about how to systemize AI so it actually delivers results. You can watch it at techleaderadvance.com/systemize first.